Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be covering tier list on the 4-star bows of Genshin Impact, as opposed to the 4-star bows of other games, right? Um, yeah, I had a lot of fun with the claymores, and this is a very good way of teaching myself about the weapons of the game, because some of these weapons, like, you just never read them, you never really look into them. So I do these like mostly blind. Like some of these I don't like some of them I know by heart. Like I know like the stringless by heart, and like the Favonius warbow and sacrificial bow, stuff like that. But some of these I don't even know. Some of these I never heard of. Some of these I just know that it's bad because it's Alloy's weapon, you know. So it's a fun way for me to learn while trying to educate you guys, you know, vice versa. But let's get right into it. So the first weapon we have. Oh, I should preface that I am ranking the weapons based off of like how easy they are to obtain. Not really by upgrading them, because they're all going to be a pain in the ass to upgrade, so whatever. But you know, like the stats, the substat of the weapon, because they're all going to be base attack. So the substat of the weapon, the effect of the weapon, and how to get them. Like I said, those are the main things I'm ranking them on. Like some of them look nice, but that's like whatever. Like if the weapon's really bad, it's not worth it to use. So actually starting this time. First one we have is the Viridescent Hunt. The substat is crit rate, and the effect reads: upon hit, normal and aim shot attacks have a 50% chance to generate a cyclone, which will continuously attract surrounding enemies, dealing 40% of attack as damage to these enemies every 0.5 seconds for 4 seconds. This effect can only occur once every 14 seconds. This is a pretty good weapon. You know, you have crit rate substat. It's a pretty decent effect. It can like draw in the enemies. Like it's kind of like having like a mini venti. You know, you just have like the enemies grouped up, and some characters can really benefit from that. Like if you have Child rocking this, like when you transform into like the water swords or whatever, like those are still normal attacks, and when they kill an enemy, they explode, dealing AoE damage to other enemies. So it's like they're all together and they just keep exploding and damaging each other, and it's like it's a really like fun thing to see. It's a really like good thing. And the unfortunate part, even though it has crit rate substat, which is phenomenal, and it has a pretty good effect, it's locked through the battle pass. You have to pay for the battle pass and get it at rank 30. So even though it has really good stats and everything, I'm gonna put it at B tier because it is not free to play friendly, and because it's locked in the battle pass. Like, I don't think I mentioned this about the previous tier list about the battle pass weapon. Because it's locked in the battle pass, you have to wait for 5 cycles, right? You have to get the weapon, it's R1, and you have to refine it 4 times. Yeah, you have to wait 5 cycles to refinement 5 it. So if it's on your main DPS, like, especially if you're using it in the Spiral Abyss, you have to refinement 5 it. Like, you have to get as much damage as possible. You have to min-max as much as possible. So this, like these weapons locked behind the battle pass, they're good, but they're just it's really not worth it. You have to pay for 5 battle passes, and like if you have the money to do it, feel free to do so. I have like several refinement 5 like battle pass weapons just because. But I understand that for some, they're you know, kids who play the game, they're people without the finances to play like that, you know, and it's perfectly understandable. That's why I put this weapon in B tier, because it's locked behind the paywall, and it's not okay, guys. Next up, I don't even know this, but I didn't recognize it or anything. I was so lost. I was like, I was like so sure it was a made up weapon or something. But this is the Royal Bow, and it's attack and attack percent. The effect reads: upon damaging an opponent, increases crit rate by 8%, max 5 stacks. A crit hit removes all. Okay, so this is the royal weapons set. So this is another decent one. But this one's like possibly a little bit worse than the Viridescent Hunt, because even though it's got like, it increases crit rate as like its effect, which is like kind of cool, but then, you know, it resets after you get a crit hit. So it's kind of like, you know, you just keep increasing it until you get it, and then it's like, oh cool, and you start over from the scratch. And it's, so it just crit, it increases your crit rate, increases your attack. Very important, very cool stuff. The issue is that you have to exchange Stardust Glitter or Star Glitter to get it. So you have to do enough summons to get like 20 or 30 something, whatever the number is, and then you have to exchange for it, which is like a crazy amount, and that really adds up if you try to refinement 5 it, which might not even be worth it. But it's just not that much of a payoff for what you have to do to get it. The like Star Glitter is like so rare to get. Like if it's a 4-star weapon, you get like 2 Star Glitter. If it's a 4-star character, you get 2, unless they're Constellation 5. I mean Constellation 6 already. So it's like, you gotta build up a lot. You gotta get a lot of 4-star characters. And if you're getting a character that's C6, if you're preying on that, then it's like, then you're pulling something that's basically useless, because you've already got it. Like most likely you're pulling for 4 stars that you want, like a new 4-star that you want to get more constellations in. So it's like you'd rather use the Star Glitter on like a couple extra summons rather than having this bow, because you might pull a better bow, and like that'd be much better to have and deal with. So I consider this not that good of a weapon. Like, it is a good weapon. Like if this is on like the banners, like this would be like A, maybe even S tier weapon. Like this is pretty phenomenal. Like you get everything you ever need and want. However, that's not the case. Next up, we have the Black Cliff Warbow. The substat is crit damage, and the effect reads, after defeating an enemy, attack is increased by 12% for 30 seconds. The effect has a maximum of 3 stacks, and the duration of each stack is independent of the others. This is another B tier weapon, because it's another Star Glitter exchange weapon. Surprise! But it's better than the Royal Warbow, or Royal Bow or whatever. If given the choice, I definitely would take the Black Cliff Bow. Crit damage is a substat, and then the attack being the buff for like defeating an enemy. Like that's very useful, and like not in boss fights, but it's very useful in like clearing out like waves of enemies, like in the Spiral Abyss. Like when you're doing floors that aren't boss fights particularly, this seems like a very useful weapon, a very good weapon. However, being that it's Star Glitter exchange, the rant I just had, it's just not, it's not feasible. It's not gonna happen in this lifetime. Forget it. Next up, we have the Predator. This is Alloy's signature weapon, and it's just as bad as Alloy. The main stat, attack, substat, attack percent, and the effect reads, dealing cryo damage to opponents increases this character's normal and charged attack damage by 10% for 6 seconds. This effect can have a maximum of 2 stacks. Additionally, when Alloy equips Predator, attack is increased by 66. So this is like how like the PlayStation players, they got like the Sword of Dissension for the Traveler. This is the Sword of Dissension, but for Alloy. And this is a bad weapon. Like this isn't even that good on what's her name, on Ganyu, who is cryo and gets like charged attack stuff. Like this is a very specific bow, and even on Ganyu there's so many better options. Like any other bow would be a better option. This bow just doesn't do enough, and for the bow to like be at its maximum like potential, you have to put it on Alloy. And like even though you can get like some extra damage on the charged attacks, it's still not that good. Like you still wouldn't even use this on Alloy. You'd still use other bows for sure. Like it matches her aesthetic and everything, but it's just not that good. and you have to get it from the event. If you don't have, you get the alloy and you get the bow at the same time. But like you could have missed out on a bad thing, and like at worst you feel left out, but at best you feel like you have something useless. So what's really the point? Next is the Hamayumi. Main stat attack, substat attack percent. I don't know why I keep saying the main stat. We know the main stat's always going to be attack. I don't know why I always have to say it. The effect reads, increases normal attack damage by 16% and charged attack damage by 12%. When the equipping character's energy reaches 100%, this effect is increased by 100%. This always confused me. Like whenever it says it's increased by like a percentage, so is it like 116% or 32%? I never figured that out. But what's it called? I just assume it's 32 because I might just be overthinking it, and this makes more sense. But increasing normal attack damage and charged attack damage. That sounds pretty decent to me. All attack stuff. It's all like crazy attack stuff. Everything's just boosting attack. It seems like a pretty solid weapon. Oh, this actually is a pretty decent weapon. This also is a, what's it called? This is a blacksmith weapon. This is something that you can have made anytime. I think in terms of just power, it sounds pretty decent, but I don't even know what character would run it and what artifact set they would run it with. Because if they're going based off their normal and charged attack, right? Then like what are like but the energy has to be 100%. That's kind of strange because you wouldn't want to run Shimenawa's Reminiscence or whatever, because then you use up your energy, and you wouldn't want to run Emblem because you would want to use your ult. So it's like what are you just gonna run like two-piece attack, like two-piece attacks or something, and just go for all out just damage and just get really good rolls? I could see that happening. It's a pretty decent weapon. I'm gonna put it not in C tier. I'm gonna put it in B tier. It seems like there's a lot of potential for just strong ass attacks. Like maybe not like Child, because Child has a pretty strong ult. So I don't see why you wouldn't use it. And there's no drawbacks to using his ult. Like you can just spam his attacks and just pop his ult. It's so fun. It's so cool. But if you use this, and his normal attack would get a lot more damage, but it's a little iffy. I don't know. But if you guys know something that I don't, let me know down in the comments. Moving on, we have the Favonius Warbow, instant S tier. But we'll get into it, don't worry. The substat is energy recharge percent, and the effect reads, crit hits have a 60% chance to generate a small amount of elemental particles, which will regenerate 6 energy for the character. Can only occur once every 12 seconds. So when you land a crit hit, you can get energy particles, which will charge your ults, and in doing this, if you put this on a support character, they're going to be getting their ult a lot faster, on top of having the energy recharge substat. You can spam your ult a lot more. Or if you have it on some kind of like DPS or sub DPS, then they can like increase their output while also getting their ults like constantly. This is a very good weapon all around. I've spoke about the Favonius weapon sets in the past and how it's like really good. So I'm not gonna gush about it too much, but it's all around perfect. So good. It works in so many ways. Moving on, this is another one of my favorite bows, the Stringless. The substat is Elemental Mastery, and the effect reads, oh, and you get the Favonius Warbow from the gacha, of course. And the effect reads for the Stringless, increases elemental skill and elemental burst damage by 24%. Short, sweet, simple. And getting refinements only increases the damage of elemental skill and elemental burst. This is like, man, like this is like DPS, like heaven. Like this is definitely an S tier weapon. Like all you're doing is making any character a super DPS. You have elemental mastery as a substat for the reactions that you'll trigger. You have the effect that just increases the damage of the skill and the burst by a pretty like big percentage, or refinement 5. And all you need to worry about is getting crit rate and crit damage on your artifacts, which is a bit much, but the payoff is worth it. You don't need as much attack and elemental mastery because you have this, so it's like you don't have to worry about that. This weapon is just extremely versatile and can make it can make like any character some kind of DPS, or just have some kind of just like you just throw out like a skill and it's going to do a lot of damage, or you just throw out a burst and it's going to do a lot of damage. For a while I ran this on my Kujo Sara, and like her burst would just come out and just obliterate enemies, and it was just like so fun, especially since she would like buff herself too. I've come across like people playing this on like DPS venties, and it's like insane. It's so cool, it's so fun. It makes any character, any bow character, like a DPS character. It's wicked fun. Definitely try it out. Next up, we have the Sacrificial Bow. The Sacrificial Bow has energy recharge as the substat, and the effect reads, after damaging an opponent with an elemental skill, the skill has a 40% chance to end its own cooldown. It can only occur once every 30 seconds. This is another S tier weapon. Maybe even above the Stringless. Maybe not above the Favonius Warbow. But the Sacrificial set in general is really good. Being able to use your skill twice, depending on the skill, can really change the tide of battle. You can have what's it called? If you have a skill that buffs, then you can reapply it. Or if you have a skill that provides a shield and the shield breaks, and maybe it does a little bit of damage or something when it's broken or applied or whatever, and it's already reset, but you don't have to wait on the cooldown, and you can just spam it all over again. It's very, very good stuff. You can reapply your buffs, your shields, whatever you need as fast as possible, or even if they're like, I don't think I've ever seen like a sacrificial like weapon like a DPS character, but 1000% you could do that. I don't know how it would turn out, but that is something you could do. And if you have like a DPS skill that is at scales on energy recharge, then you're fulfilling so many needs at the same time. It's like having your cake and eating it too, you know? Next up, we have the Rust. The Rust is I haven't mentioned it about any of the weapons so far, but the Rust has, I don't know why, it just looks really cool to me. It's just like it just fits so well on like so many characters, like fashion wise. It's such a gorgeous weapon. The main stat is attack, the substat is attack percent, and the effect reads, increases normal attack damage by 40%, but decreases charge attack damage by 10%. This is like a weapon with a downside effect. But the downside effect has absolutely no merit on some of the characters that you would play this on, because some bow characters, they like the crazy part about bows is that the best bow characters don't play as like traditional bow characters. Like there's not many cases where you're like standing around like firing arrows. With Ganyu, yes, because they made her charge shot crazy. But to make up for it, when you get her constellation, you can spam her charge shots as if they were just a regular shot. And then there's characters like Child and Yoimiya, where like you just spam the normal attack. And with Child, it's not even a bow, it's like water swords. Like he's a bow character, but not a bow character. So he gets all the bow effects on his water swords. He's like cheating the system. But the Rust works really well because of that. And some characters like Fischl, who are just like really fast, really strong, it can do superconduct and all that, it works really well for spamming their normal attacks. It's not as like, you can't run this on everybody. That's I'm putting in A tier because it's a very good option for a lot of characters. However, it's not a good option for every character. Like you can't run the Rust on like not DPS characters. You can't run it on like some DPS characters. Like there's like a few characters you could build it on, and even then, like throughout the passage of time, there have been some better and better weapons for like these different characters that you could use that have like utility effects and whatnot that kind of like do better than the rust. So it's like it's kind of like a bit iffy. And this is like, and the issue with the rust and the issue with all of these weapons, really, the Favonius, the Sacrificial, the Stringless, the Rust, is that they're all gotcha weapons, and they work at their best at Refinement 5. It's going to be a minute before you get a Refinement 5 weapon of these. And if they are on the weapon banner, what if one of the weapons on it isn't a weapon you want? Or what if they're both not weapons you want, which is even worse? Like if one of them is, and you go for the summons for it, and then it's like, cool, whatever, you know, hopefully it works out for the best. But other than that, like it's gonna be tough getting these. Like you just have to get these from like standard banner pulls, which you don't get like a crazy amount. You get a couple here and there, but like if you got this on like the limited banner, the character banner, you'd be upset because you want like characters. So it's like it's a very tricky thing with these things. Next up, we have the Windbloom Ode. This is, excuse me, this is a bow, and the base attack, it's base attack, and the main stats are base attack, and the substat is Elemental Mastery. And the effect reads, after using an elemental skill, receive a boon. A boon. What does that mean? A boon from the Ancient Wish of the Windbloom, increasing attack by 16% for 6 seconds. You get to receive a boon. What is that? Who wrote that? It sounds great. But what's it called? The way to obtain this is from an event. So you have to like travel back in time if you want this. The effect's not actually that bad. You use a skill and then you get some attack. That's like, it's pretty simple. It's Elemental Mastery. I think it's a pretty good weapon. A tier. Yeah, probably above the Rust, only because even though it was an event weapon, you can't get it anymore. The thing that's really cool about event weapons is that if you're playing the event, you get the weapon at Refinement 5. Like there is no like oh man, like I'm gonna miss out on this weapon on purpose. Like I'm gonna do this event completely and then not claim the rewards. Like if you do the event completely, like you get all the refinements from the event, like from doing all the little quests and stuff, which you're gonna do anyway because they give you gems and whatnot. Like everything you get from an event is useful, like gems, books, Mora, crystals. Like it's all useful stuff. So you wouldn't like come out of an event with an R3 weapon. It just doesn't make any sense. And even if they're not useful now, they'll be useful eventually. And this has got a pretty decent skill, pretty decent lineup. Elemental Mastery, and then when you use a skill, you get an attack buff. So you could use your skill, set up for a burst, and then bam. Like you could use this on like Child. Like if you have like a reaction Child build, where you have like off field supports like Shinobu or something, and then you have Child just like spamming his attacks, and then he has those Elemental Mastery, and he used his skill to activate his sword, so he's like getting a buff, like stuff like that. Like you gotta be creative sometimes, man. Like I'm thinking off the dome here, and this is golden. Someone gotta write this stuff down. Next up, we have the Alley Hunter, which is substat attack percent. The effect reads, while the character equipped with this weapon is in the party but not on the field, their damage increases by 2% every second up to a maximum of 20%. When the character is on the field for more than 4 seconds, the aforementioned buff decreases by 4 seconds per second until it reaches 0. So this is mainly useful for your off-field like support characters. For a bow character, off the top of my head, I can't think who would play this. I can't like you would not want to play this on like what's it called? You would not want to play this on like your Child or something. Like maybe you could play it. Yeah, it's saying you play it with Fish. I have to scroll down because I'm so clueless about this weapon. You play it with Fischl. That sounds like it would make sense. You would like throw down Oz, but there's so many better options. I like don't do that. It says you can play it on Sarah. I can't. Oh yeah, I can see that. Yeah, because her attack would go up and she buffs based off of her attack. So that's like, all right, cool. Venti, I can't see at all. Like what? Like why would you care that his black hole thing does damage? That means nothing. Like just suck up all the enemies and do damage with other characters. Just come on, guys. Overall, I think this isn't that good of a weapon. I think there's so few characters that can benefit from it, and I think there's so many better weapons that those characters can benefit from that it's just not worth it. If I pulled this, I'd probably have some, but if I pulled this, I'd probably cry myself like to sleep. Like that'd be a terrible day. Like everything I would have done in the day, like if I exercised, I probably would have gained fat instead. Like that's how bad this weapon would make me feel. Next up, we have Moon's Moon. The first Moon is spelled M-O-U-U-N, but I'm gonna assume it's just Moon. I'm not gonna Maun or something. The substat is attack percent, and the effect reads every point of the entire party's combined maximum energy capacity. For every point of the entire party's maximum energy capacity, the elemental burst damage of the character equipping this weapon is increased by 0.12%. A maximum of 40% increased elemental burst damage can be achieved this way. There was a similar weapon with the Claymores. That's really cool. I didn't know that. I didn't know this was like a class of weapon. I think it's a pretty good weapon. I think it has a lot of potential to have like a crazy nuke. Like this sounds like a pretty wild weapon on Child. Like I have like a nuke build on Child. I don't have like the traditional like 4-piece water set on Child because I pulled C1 Child way back in his first banner, and I didn't build him because I didn't want him. I pulled in that banner because I was playing Beidou a lot, and I wanted her like I wanted a bunch of her constellations, but I was saving up for Zhongli because I really wanted Zhongli, which meant that like I would have like C2 Zhongli in like the beginning of time, but whatever, things happen, man, right? However, I got C1 Child and I never built him, and over a year later, they introduced the Pyro Hypostasis. And I vividly remember that Spiral Abyss being such a pain in the ass because my Mona wasn't enough to deal with it. And I didn't have like the proper like DPSs and characters built yet for like a really, really good like double team for the Spiral Abyss. I had like moderately build stuff or whatever. And then one of my friends who played Child was like, bro, I play like, I think he played like Mona, Child, and Xingqiu to like beat the Pyro Hypostasis. So like I was like, oh cool, that sounds good. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna kill it as fast as possible. So I built my Child with 2-piece water set and 2-piece Noblesse Oblige, so that his ult does a lot of damage, but his like regular attacks don't do as much. It's like whatever, but it like destroys the hypostasis in tandem with Mona. So this weapon on top of that would work really well in a nuke build, kind of like that, because Mona has energy recharge and a bunch of other people have energy recharge or energy capacity, not energy recharge. Huh? I don't know what that is. However, it still sounds like it's pretty good stuff, and you can get a 40% increase on your character's elemental burst damage. 40% is a lot. That's like double the Noblesse. That's like having the Noblesse and then like a weak 4-piece emblem at the same time. I think. Yeah, it sounds good, man. Like that's what I'm trying to say. I can see it working out, and it's got a goofy name. Next up, we have the Fading Twilight. The substat is energy recharge. Guess what the main stat is? The effect reads, has 3 states. Oh, it says Evangleam, but I thought it was Evangelion. Evangleam, Afterglow, and Dawn Blaze, which increases damage dealt by 6%, 10%, 14% respectively. When attacks hit opponents, this weapon will switch to the next state. This weapon can change states every 7 seconds. It must be traveling at the speed of light. I live in the United States, and they are not 7 seconds apart. The character equipping this weapon can still trigger the state the state switch while not on the field. This, so it's energy recharge, and then you get increased damage when attacks hit the opponents. But at what point does it go down? Huh. This sounds okay, but it doesn't sound like the craziest thing. Like, it's energy recharge, which is cool, but like, if you're playing a support character, the Favonius or the Sacrificial Bow, excuse me, the Favonius bow and the Sacrificial Bow, they both have energy recharge. They both have great effects that complement supports. This is like, you're buffing your support a little bit to do a little bit of extra damage, but it's probably better to have these as well, to have these in place of it. Like, I can't think of too many situations where the Fading Twilight would be more useful than those two weapons, especially for the energy recharge substat. So I think it's a C tier weapon. I think it's a bit redundant. I think it's like not that useful, and like when you pit it against these other weapons. Unfortunately, that's my verdict. Next up, we have King's Squire. This is another cool looking bow. The substat is attack percent, and the skill is obtain the, man, this is a long one. Obtain the Teachings of the Forest effect. Obtain the Teachings of the Forest effect when unleashing elemental skills and bursts, increasing elemental mastery by 60 for 12 seconds. Quite a bit. This effect will be removed when switching characters. When the Teachings of the Forest effect ends or is removed, it will deal 100% of attack as damage to one nearby opponent. Man, just do it in a small AoE. The Teaching of the Forest can be triggered once every 20 seconds. What makes this weapon cool is that it is a blacksmith weapon. You can forge this. You can get this refinement 5 pretty fast, pretty easy, which is definitely something to take into account when it has a nuke effect like that. I think this is a pretty decent weapon. Free to play. I'm gonna put it in B tier. I like that it's like very free to play friendly. I think it's a very important thing to look at. And you get elemental mastery. It's substat as attack, so you gotta build like, pretty wide. You gotta get very specific with your crits and whatnot. That's the thing that's tricky about weapons like this. Like when they don't have like a crit substat or anything, it gets a little difficult because you have to really get perfect artifacts. Sometimes that's like not that difficult of a case, or if you put it on like an ice character, stuff like that. Like sometimes it works out, sometimes it makes the grind a little bit harder, but that's what you like anyway. You wouldn't be here playing Genshin for like 3 years if you didn't like that grind, right? However, I do like the nuke effect of it and all that, using elemental mastery. I think it covers like a couple of different grounds that makes an interesting weapon, especially for a really good free-to-play weapon. I think it's pretty decent. I'd run it if I was free-to-play. Next up, we have End of the Line. Someone says that. Is that Someone says that when they activate their skill or their burst. End of the line or something like that. Or Kokomi, I think she says like hold the line or something like that. Whatever. The substat is energy recharge, and the effect reads, triggers the Flow Rider effect after using an elemental skill, dealing 80% damage, 80% attack as AoE damage upon hitting an opponent with an attack. Flow Rider will be removed after 15 seconds or after causing 3 instances of AoE damage. Only 1 instance of AoE damage can be caused every 2 seconds in this way. Flow Rider can be triggered once every 12 seconds. There's a lot to take in there. But whenever, I don't know, like whenever I read Flow Rider, I just thought of Flow Rider. That just made me chuckle. Flow Rider will be removed after 15 seconds. What did he do? What's it called? I don't know what this weapon's like telling me. There's a lot quite going on here. Use a skill. Use the skill and you get an extra 80% attack as AoE damage. It sounds decent. It looks really cool, of course, but it doesn't. It is free to play. It is, yeah. You get it from the Fishing Association. You have to do a bunch of grinding and fishing to get it, which does make it pretty decent. For a character that would spam their skill, oh, like Child. You could run it on Child, but the substat is Energy Recharge. Yeah, this weapon, I would say it's pretty good, but Energy Recharge as the substat, I can't get behind it. I can't see it as like that crazy of a weapon. Maybe for like some characters, I could see them like, I could see some characters like really like, did they? You know what I mean? Like what bow character is gonna have is gonna use their skill and then not want to stay on the field? Like there's not that many there's not that many bow characters, I should say, that are gonna throw down a skill and then switch out and then have it stay out there for a while. Like you're not gonna have like Zhongli's Pillar on a bow character, at least not yet. I think this is a good weapon. It just doesn't have a home yet. I don't think they're like, yeah, you could play it free to play on like some character. You could throw out like Venti's skill or something, but like it's not gonna do as much. I'm gonna put it the end of B tier. I think it'll get a lot better when it has someone that's like, it's like really insane on and that fully utilizes it. But as of right now, there's no one that really uses it. There's no one that really needs it. And like I said before about other weapons, if you're running Energy Recharge on a support character, the Favonius and the Sacrificial just do way too much better than most other options, generally speaking. Next, why don't I have that muted? I hope you didn't hear that Discord notification. The next one is the Prototype Crescent. Prototypes are always blacksmith weapons, if I recall. The substat is attack percent, and the effect reads: aim shot hits on weak points increase movement speed by 10% and attack by 36% for 10 seconds. This is like one of the older weapons, so like it's like, this is like, if I recall, this has been out since like the beginning. I think all the prototypes were out since the beginning, and so like when there was like 4 bows in the game, like this was like a good option. But now it's like, it's so slow. Like what character is using aim shots? And it's aim shot on weak points. Like, bro, what do you? Like, if you're playing Ganyu, you're not worried about weak spots. You're worried about shooting and hitting the target. Because you can hit them or hit near them, it'll work out for the best. But you have to manually hit weak spots, and then you get a movement speed and attack increase for the character using this. It doesn't really say, like, I guess it's for the character using this. It doesn't really specify. I'm not really sure if it's like you can switch out to someone else and the buff will still be on. But it doesn't serve enough of a purpose. Like what enemy are you like if you're hunting, if you have like a seething hatred for the Ruin enemies, and you are constantly hunting the Ruin guards, Ruin drakes, Ruin golems, Ruin hunters, like if you're constantly hunting them down with a bow character, be my guest, this is a phenomenal weapon for you. But if you're not doing that, then this isn't that good of a weapon. This is like probably C tier, maybe even F tier, honestly. I mean, but it's like free to play friendly. Like you can get it refinement 5, so you can get like a pretty decent buff if you're like, if you got like a pretty good character. Like maybe you are like, maybe you play like thousands of hours of Valorant, and so your Ganyu like gets headshots like insanely fast, and like maybe that's you. That's not me in the slightest. But if you can do that, I'd love to watch your gameplay. But like you'd probably do pretty well with this weapon. You'd probably aim shots and like the Spiral Abyss going crazy, like especially when they're going up and down and like Venti's ults or something stupid. Like bro, you're cracked. But I don't see it happening realistically for the normal person. Next up, we have the Compound Bow. I don't know if you can hear my voice. I've been like mouth breathing this whole time. I'm like, I don't know why. Like, it's been difficult, man. But we have 2 bows left. We're almost done. And interestingly enough, these 2 bows are like kind of similar in each other. So this is the first bow that we're covering, with the substat being physical damage. The effect reads, normal and aim shot hits increase attack by 4% and normal attack speed by 1.2% for 6 seconds. Maximum of 4 snacks. Top of my head, that's 24%. No, 4 snacks. I thought it was 6 snacks. 4 snacks, 16% attack, and 4.8 attack speed boost. At refinement 1, of course. Which is just okay. However, this is forged by the blacksmith, and if you are going for a physical damage build on any bow character, like if you're building like a free-to-play official, this is a solid weapon to use. You get your physical damage bonus, you get a little bit of damage boost, and the attack speed boost, which is like, she's already fast. So compound bow, like, you're shooting at the speed of light. It's like official gets a machine gun. It's pretty insane. And on top of that, you know, she has superconduct and all that, whatever. So this is a pretty solid bow, and it's free to play. You can get this refinement 5 faster than I can sneeze, and that's saying something, because I sneeze really fast. I think it's an 8 tier weapon because it does so much, and it's so decent for how simple it is. I can get behind this for sure. Not as in get behind as I'm the one firing, because that's not the case. I can't fire a bow. Next up, or lastly, certainly not least, man, this is like we had no like tricky Inazuma name weapons, but we have this tricky official weapon, because this is like official's like signature weapon. It like matches her like style and everything. This is the Mitternachtwaltz. Mitternachtwaltz. For mind possessing, divert along, or whatever. The substat is physical damage, meaning this is also for physical DPS characters. Physical bow DPS characters. And the effect reads, normal attack hits on opponents increase elemental skill damage by 20% for 5 seconds. Elemental skill hits on opponents increase normal attack damage by 20% for 5 seconds. They made this bow just for official, and I'm like certain it doesn't really work for anyone else. And you probably could use something else, like something with like a crit rate or crit damage substat maybe. However, this is still a really good bow. Even though it is only good on one person, it's got a really good effect. It's hard to rank this because it's like this is a gacha weapon, so it's like, you know, you have to pull it, and then like if you have this and you don't have anything else, like I wouldn't cry about that, like, oh man, I have to put the Mitternachtwaltz on my official. But at the same time, if I have like an extra like Thundering Pulse or something with like a crit substat, I'd probably use that instead. But 1000% is like the nature of the game is that there's gonna be characters down the line in the future, maybe even characters now, that like you can just go super creative and build them with this anyway. I can't think of them, and you probably know. Maybe you could build like a physical DPS Venti with this. I don't know. You can figure something out, man. But I don't think I think it's got a really good effect and everything. But I think it just doesn't have a home. I think even with official, it doesn't have a home. I'm gonna put it at C tier because there's not enough you can do with it yet, but there is a lot of potential there. And that's gonna be it for the 4-star weapons, the 4-star bows. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys would like to see, and I'd also like to hear your feedback on some of these weapons. Like, obviously, I don't know every single build you could do with every single weapon. If I missed something, like if the Fading Twilight or whatever this was, there's actually like a really good build you can do with it, let me know. I'll eat my words in an instant, because I can't know everything. not gonna sit here and research all of these weapons, or I mean, maybe I should, honestly. maybe I should do that. But it's a bit of work to remember the effects and everything of every single weapon, and then on top of that, what characters they're gonna be good on, and then you have to like it's a lot of remembering to do. I can definitely do it, and I probably will for the next one to try and get better. But I would still love to hear your feedback either way. Thank you guys for watching. Check out the tier list playlist I have and watch some of my other tier lists, and take care.